Everybody, welcome to Water Walkers. Today we're going to talk SEC football and who the top four is and who's going to win. We're not going to get a crazy amount of details as it would take me too long to do these videos. And I want you to like, I want you to subscribe and share. I want you to comment and what your thoughts is. Maybe you don't agree with me. Maybe you do. Maybe you have a different top four. I like to see it. You know, I want to hear everyone's opinions. We're not here to fight or argue. We're just here to talk football and Jesus and family. That's what we do here on this show. So let's talk about SEC football. My number 4 is going to be Tennessee. I think the Tennessee Volunteers is actually starting to move in the right direction after a long time of seeing so many different coaches and talents being wasted over there. For a long time, we haven't seen the Rocky Top that we used to see back in the day. And so I was pretty excited last year when you started seeing that. You know, they're coming off of a year. They did lose some talent and Hendon Hooker and other wide receivers and whatnot that had to leave there. But they also have Joe Milton, who's been around for a while. He has made his mistakes. He's got most of his career as a backup, but I think he's ready to take over that role. You have Smalls coming back as a running back. He's a very strong runner. I think you have the finesse and the more explosive running back and Wright going to be backing him up. I think you're actually going to see a running game that's not just mostly quarterback led. I think Hendon Hooker ran the ball more than the running back did last year, just in my opinion, without looking at the stats right now. And I think you're going to see 2 running backs be involved in this offense. And I think that's great for them because I still think there's enough talent to throw it down the field and hit the seams. This offense is projected to be a top 10 offense. I don't know if that's the case. Maybe top 15, which is a dangerous still. 10 to 15, I can see that. It makes them very dangerous. Here's the weakness, though. They are not coming off the best year when it comes to defense. They have allowed a lot of points. Now, yeah, they had that crazy blowout win against LSU at Death Valley, and everybody's like, this is the team. But the truth is, majority of the games they played, they allowed just as many points or pretty close as many points against them. They had just barely won on some of these games. And it's because I don't think the defense is quite as close to being great as the offense is. And I think this defense is going to be a little better than last year, but I don't think too much. They're projected to have like a top 70 defense. I see it between 50, 60, something like that. But nothing to go out there and clap about. But it is moving in the right direction. I like Tennessee. I like the swag. They came off after beating Alabama and say, hey, we're the team that beat Alabama. We almost did it. We almost won the East. Instead, they got annihilated by Georgia, and Georgia said, listen, don't come play with the big dogs quite yet, but they're moving in the right direction. I'm excited about it. South Carolina moving in the right direction. I had them almost in that same spot with Tennessee as well as Kentucky. I think Kentucky will take a little bit of an extra drop. Texas A&M, I don't believe in them. I think Jimbo Fisher is killing that whole program. Maybe he turns around. I don't know, and I really don't care, to be honest with you. I really would like to see Tennessee continue to move. We need some more talent in the East to be able to compete against the West. So I'm excited about that. So let's go to our number 3. Number 3, I got LSU. LSU is always kind of been in there, right? They do really good or they do really bad, but they're always there. They're not too far off of 2019 winning a Nationals championship. Last year they come back, and they get Chip Kelly last year, and everybody said, well, what did he do in Notre Dame except for go to places and then fail? He didn't have the talent he has now at Notre Dame. Listen, you got to be a genius to go to Notre Dame, and it's a very strict school. He has an SEC country kind of players now. They get to play all year round. He has a lot of talent. And I think what you saw is a really great coach and Chip Kelly with really great talent in his first year and said, hey, I'm showing up. Now, they lost against Florida State in the first week, and everybody was like, ooh. But you've seen how quick LSU adapted to it. They made changes, and they moved forward. That's great coaching. That's what that is. And you're going to see a lot more of that. They also coming off with a year of swag of beating Alabama. And then not just beating Alabama like Tennessee beat them with a high-powered offense, and you've seen the 2 offenses going back and forth. No, this is what happened, right? Remember this? Alabama And LSU going at it with seconds left on the clock. LSU had to kick the field goal to be able to tie it. And they said, no, I got swag. I'm not playing. LSU went out there and they went for the 2-point conversion and beat Alabama. Beat them. Now, that's a coach that says, no. We're either going to lose or we're going to win. But we're not giving Alabama that ball again because they probably know if they did, they're not going to walk away with the victory. Let's be honest with that. But that's the kind of coaching you got to have in the SEC to compete because there's so much five-star talent. Remember, down here in the South where we're at, I live in Florida, or down here in the South, we play football all year round almost. You know, it's not like up in North when you get 8 foot of snow and you can't play football and you got to go indoors and play field hockey or whatever you got to play. I don't even know what wrestling or whatnot. But down here, it's about football. And so he has this talent and he has these guys who are all the time playing football. When they come over there, they're like, we accept the challenge, coach. If you believe in us, we believe in us. And that's what Chip Kelly has brought to this team. Even when they lose, they didn't fall away. You didn't see a big drop in confidence. When they got beat down by Tennessee at home in Death Valley, you didn't see a big drop in confidence. You seen a team that was ready to come play the next week. And I think that's why LSU is my number 3 team. Not only are they starting to move forward, and they always kind of been there, but they're moving forward with this new coach. I think they're moving forward to be a threat in the West, to win the West and to win the SEC here come in the future under Chip Kelly. I think he's going to bring recruits. I think he's going to bring talent. And, you know, we like to talk about Nick Saban. He's the greatest ever, but how many more years does he have? Chip Kelly has a little bit more than that, I think. And I think what he's going to do is use his ability at LSU to say, hey, look, you come over here, we're going to compete against the best, and we're going to win. And so I kind of like Chip Kelly. I like the way what he's doing over there at LSU. I like what LSU's doing. And I picked LSU to be my number 3 team. They also have a really good quarterback coming back as well, and Daniels. And I like his swag. And I don't know. I think LSU, I picked them to be the number 2 team in the West. I picked them to be the number 3 team in the SEC. They're here to fight, man. This is a top 10 team, and they're not going away no time soon. So LSU, keep doing what you're doing. You're my number 3 team in the SEC. Let's go to number 2. And everybody's waiting to hear who number 2 is. Because there's only 2 other teams in the SEC you can really talk about right now, right? That's Georgia and Alabama. Who's number 2 and who's number 1? So we're going to find out that right now. Georgia, I'm actually putting at number 2. And you're like, what? They won 2 national championships back to back. They won the SEC in 2022. How can you put them at number 2? They haven't been beaten. They're unstoppable. True in a way. I think the last 2 years they had the most amazing line, right? They had a national championship defensive line for 2 years in a row. And I think their defense is going to be pretty good as well this year. I mean, they have a lot of returners coming back off the defense. The line, not so many returners, but I believe they have every linebacker, if not mistaken, every linebacker coming back. They got Bowers as a tight end coming back. They got, I believe, a center, left, and right guard coming back to protect whatever quarterback ends up being out there. Their quarterback is a little bit of a weakness. I don't really know anything about them. I don't know if I can believe in that. We all know they produce decent running backs. The run game, the tight end passing, the short passing is going to be there. They're not really known as taking it down the field a whole lot. I think Ohio State kind of showed up against them and probably should have won. I mean, other than the horrible kicking that went. And they showed some weaknesses that people are going to kind of feed off of. But the truth is, what makes them number 2, and I got them more of a 1B to a 1A than it is a number 2. So don't get too mad at me, Dog fans. I don't really have them much of a drop-off. I think they have like 9 starters or 7 or 9 starters coming back on defense. Forgive me if I don't have that exact number in front of me right now. But they also have a top wide receiver, top tight end coming back as well. And I think that the Georgia Bulldogs are only 1B because of one reason only. I think that it's hard to three-peat. That's it. And they've lost a little bit of that defensive line. I don't think the pass rush is going to be as good to get to that backfield. And I think their offense isn't as powerful as Alabama's offense or as powerful, maybe even as LSU's offense, and maybe even Tennessee. I don't know about that, but I think with them losing what they've lost, it's going to be a little bit harder to get to that backfield, and it's going to be a little bit harder to compete against high-powered offenses and be able to stay up. So I think they take a little bit of a drop because of it, but they have Kirby Smart. He's the most greatest defensive coach in the world. Prove me wrong. The guy was an amazing defense coordinator in Alabama. For the last 2 years, he's had the best defense in the country. I think he'll have a top 3 defense this year. And I think the defense will keep him in games. The defense will win games. I think the fact that they play a safe offense with the run game and the tight ends and the slots and everything like that, I believe that's going to keep them in games and winning games. Don't get me wrong. I got them winning the East for a reason because they are still a powerhouse juggernaut. I think they'll compete in the SEC again. And I think that they're just going to fall short because I don't think they have enough firepower when it comes to their offense. Not that I think they're going to have a drop on defense that much. I think it's just going to be a little drop. Just a little drop. Because I think Kirby Smart might be one of the best coaches in college football, but he is the best defensive coach in college football, hands down. I know Nick Saban's a defensive coach as well, but I think Kirby Smart is the best defensive coach. I think Nick Saban is the greatest head coach of all time, but Kirby Smart's the best defensive coach, hands down, in college football today. So I give the Dogs, I'm going to say 1B, just so you guys don't get too mad at me, but they did drop to the second spot from last year's number 1 spot, just because I think they take a little step back, and because of who I got number 1 and why I got them number 1 is another reason why I got that. So let's get to that. I got Alabama. Let me put that up there. I got Alabama at number 1. And you say, why Alabama over Georgia? Don't forget, Georgia beat Alabama in the national championship. And Alabama couldn't even make the playoffs last year. And they lost against LSU and Tennessee. And Georgia dominated Tennessee. And Alabama had to fight for their lives against Tennessee. Oh, let's not forget about what happened to LSU when they had to play against them. Well, that's 2 different years. So let's get this right. You're telling me the greatest coach of all time in college football had a team who lost in the national championship in 2021, who had a team who lost twice and almost lost 3 times. Don't forget Texas A&M had them on the ropes at Alabama last year. On top of many other things, let's remember Texas. Ewers doesn't go out. That might be a whole different game. So Nick Saban's already mad that he almost lost a couple times. He did lose a couple times, and then he didn't make the playoffs. So you're telling me the greatest coach of all times just went through all that, who has 5 stars left and right, returning running backs, really good returning running backs. They have some wide receivers that are returning. I'm not real huge on Alabama's wide receivers. They get in the debate and who the greatest wide receivers in college football is. We all know Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be the greatest this year. But I do think they're good enough to do their job, and that's all they have to do in Alabama because it's not a pass-only team. They're going to run the ball. They're going to pass the ball. You're going to see tight ends. You're going to see wide receivers. You're going to see the slots, you're going to see the goes, you're going to see a lot of things. What's going to matter is that quarterback. So you're telling me all that talent, more 5 stars than anybody, top recruiting classes. They don't rebuild, they just reload. They're already there. There's freshman 5 stars in Alabama who can outbeat four-year seniors on most teams right now for a starting spot. This is what you're telling me the talent is behind the madman who is a complete genius, and you're going to tell me you're not going to put him number 1? Please. Alabama is mad. You just poked the elephant, and he's ready to stomp on your head. And that's the truth. And I'm not an Alabama fan. I have a sister that's from Alabama. I love college football. And I have friends that are Alabama fans. Big T, one of the guys who I talk to about football, he's an Alabama guy. And so I talk about Alabama a lot, and yeah, I make little remarks and stuff like we all do when we talk about rivalry stuff. But Alabama is going to not only win the East or the West, but they're going to win the SEC, and they're going to win it at a fashionable way. They're going to destroy whoever gets in their way when it comes to that. And you say, well, why do you say? Well, let's be honest. It's not like Alabama also don't have a fairly easy schedule compared to some people as well. And I know SEC teams are hard to beat each and every week. Anybody in any conference that plays the teams that know them the most is hard. So I don't want to hear that no more. I'm so sick of hearing that. Let's talk about 3 teams that are weak teams that you're going to play, and you play 1 Power 5 non-conference teams, which adds up to 9. And all the other ones are playing 10 Power 5 teams. So I don't want to hear it. When you get to pick Chattanooga before you play your rivalry in Auburn, that's a weakness towards the Auburn. Not a weakness towards Alabama. When you play Middle Tennessee and you play all these tiny teams, 3 of them. That has to change. SEC here lately said that they want to play nine conference games. And I'm like, thank God, because everybody else has been doing this. And they said, well, but not Alabama didn't vote for it. Why would Alabama vote for it? They have 3 to 4 guarantee. Last year was the first time Alabama went on a road against a non-conference Power 5 team at someone else's house since Nick Saban went to Alabama. Every other time they say, we're going to go to neutral site. Neutral site means in Atlanta, an Alabama world where Alabama plays in the SEC championship almost every year. It's all about SEC there. Quit. That is not neutral site. You're sticking them in the danger zone, and you have 99% of your fans there. That's not neutral site. Alabama needs to tighten up on their schedule. I know you're going to get a little whiplash from this, but listen, truth is truth. Change your way. I believe Alabama is one of the top teams. They're in the top 4 team this year. They're the number 1 team in the SEC. But get over the schedule. Stop making excuses and say that they have a tough schedule. No, they don't. You can tell me all you want. Vanderbilt sucks. When's the last time you seen Mizzou do anything? Quit, man. Stop. Texas A&M couldn't beat themselves last year. Stop saying all the SEC teams are hard to beat. Quit. Be honest. Get over that. Worry about the other teams outside of your conference and then build up from there. Give me a reason why you do that. Done with the rant. Alabama number 1, Georgia number 2, LSU number 3, Tennessee number 4. Tell me that I'm wrong. Tell me why I'm wrong. I want to hear it. That's fine by me. I'm going to stick to my guns. This is who I think is going to win the SEC. You're going to crown Alabama once again. They're going to the playoffs as a number 4 team. We're not going to talk about who's winning the national title. That's another day. That's a whole nother video. If you don't believe me, watch it. It's going to happen. Alabama's back, and there's no one going to stop them in the SEC to get there. Matter of fact, there's no one on that. I'm going to say it right here. There's one team that might beat them this year, and that is a Hail Mary chance, and that's LSU. Outside of that, I'm giving a W to every single game that Alabama plays this year. We're waiting on the one team, and that's LSU, Alabama. I believe it's going to be in the night. It's going to be a red lights are going to be flashing in Alabama. It's going to be dark. The stars are going to be out. Don't want to miss that game. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Please comment. Thank you, and God bless.